You're with Julian on the Brownlow and a review of The Fall Guy. One of a raft of films that's come out this year that has got good reviews from critics and underperformed at the box office, which is happening over and over again unless you're Inside Out or Bad Boys 7. David Leitch is a director and he's had a very up and down career for me. I think I've reviewed a lot of his films. Him and Chad Stahelski basically directed the first John Wick film, which I adored. I am a stan of the John Wick films. He's a ex-stunt performer and coordinator, as I think Chad Stahelski is as well. And it's been very up and down. Like Atomic Blonde, I thought was fantastic, mostly. And well worth a sequel. Deadpool 2, I actually liked a hell of a lot more than Deadpool 1. I didn't really rate the first film at all. I found it a bit cringe. And then two films I didn't like. Hobbs and Shaw I thought was absolutely atrocious. And Bullet Train, I tried to re-watch as a watch in the background and turned it off. It just annoyed me so much. But he's back with The Fall Guy. And with some major stars at the helm, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt and Aaron Taylor-Johnson. So it's got a pretty massive cast, and it had a pretty massive budget and a pretty massive break-even point, which it didn't reach with its box office at all. If its budget was around $150 million for shooting, it's probably looking at $500 million break-even point and did 173 at the box office, which was weird. It is yet another reboot of an intellectual property. This time being the 1980s Fall Guy TV series, which was fairly iconic at the time and, celebrated the whole genre of the stuntman, which is, one of the underappreciated parts of the cinematic world. There's been a push for, I think, a stuntman Oscar for a long time, celebrating that particular part of filmmaking. And they're like the cowboys of the industry, and we've seen them celebrated in film, most notably recently in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with the Brad Pitt character, who himself had elements taken from stuntmen that worked with people like Burt Reynolds, who had gone on to have film careers after the fact. This time we get Ryan Gosling as someone that is injured in a stunt. He's a top stuntman. He's in love with Emily Blunt. They're a couple. And then he has this terrible fall in a stunt. And the actor Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who's Tom Cruise, I mean, they should have cast Tom Cruise as Tom Ryder in this film, but it's so painfully supposed to be Tom Cruise. I wish they'd managed to actually get him to do it, because I think he would have nailed it. If you've seen him do like dark or comedic roles, he would have nailed it. It would have been such a coup and probably saved a bit of their box office as well. So he does this film with Aaron Taylor-Johnson's Tom Ryder character, and he has this terrible fall, breaks his back, can't work again as a stuntman, ends up parking cars and drives Emily Blunt away. Emily Blunt becomes a big name film director. And then it all relocates to Australia for some reason. I imagine because of the amount of money the government pays people to make films in Australia, where they're making the new Emily Blunt film and they want Ryan Gosling's character to make a comeback as a stuntman. He's parking cars at this stage. When he gets there, he realizes that there's this massive conspiracy going on, that his injury itself was down to jealousy from the Tom Ryder character. And there's this very low-key story which relates to the behavior of the Tom Ryder character in a conspiracy around events that pans out into lots of bombs and explosions and car chases and excuses for stunt work, which is that's what the film is about. And it's got pretty universally strong reviews from critics. I'm not one of them, I'm afraid. the everything about this film that could have been better, everything is on the table here. The budget is on the table. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are on the table. Aaron Taylor Johnson could potentially have been a lot better. Teresa Palmer and Stephanie Zhu and Winston Duke. There's quite a lot of really good people in this film, and they had the right notion of what to do, but everything is so underwhelming. I found the screenplay and the conspiracy theory to be half as strong as it would need to be to limp over the line. Even though I don't believe the box office is a result of the quality of the film per se, there isn't much here that I could actually say I would recommend. It's I love Ryan Gosling. He's literally me. And I love Emily Blunt. And, the dynamism and the action sequences and everything, and the very widescreen colour, it looks like a really expensive film. But the story is so incredibly weak. It's just such a trite, will-this-do story. And what the whole conspiracy theory is about is kind of like, really? Is that the whole thing you're hanging this film on? And if they wanted to they should have made it much more romantic, because the whole Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling thing ends up being a little bit half-assed, and that's kind of like what the whole movie is. They could have really upped the romance angle, the fact that he's now coming back to life after his injury and trying to make it work with her, and they've got great chemistry. But if you look at something like Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling in films, they could have made it work a lot better with a stronger story, and they didn't need to have such a weak story to hang this whole film on. I did get bored, and it was very by the numbers. It's flat out worth a watch, because you've got some major Hollywood stars in a very expensive looking project with admittedly a lot of humour and a lot of standout action sequences. And, it's often very funny, and it's continually amiable, but there really isn't much more to recommend it. You're never going to ever probably watch it again, and you probably won't remember it after you've seen it. So, unfortunately, I'm going to give The Fall Guy a 6 out of 10. I just didn't really rate it at all.